Afternoon, guys. Good. Thank you for being here. All right, so getting back to work today, coming off of obviously a disappointing night on Friday. We didn't coach well enough, or play well enough, or execute well enough, and had a chance to certainly get with our players, our entire staff, assess it, make the corrections, and move forward and get all our focus on our opponent this week in Stanford. So, questions, please.
Mario, obviously, Louisville held you guys in check in the run game. Just what adjustments, and going back and watching it on film, what adjustments do you think you guys need to make in that aspect of the game?
Well, I think the simplicity of coaching it better to execute at a higher level. All right, the devil's in the details, and it's we've been really good at running the football, and we've been a little bit off the last couple of weeks, and we need to get back to our ways in the form and the way that we do run the football, and that's with the principles of technique and fundamentals and pad level, and making sure we can get both downhill and outside by doing what we do.
Mario, you've mentioned about penalties and not shooting yourself in the foot. I think it's 15 pre-snap penalties the last 4 games. Just any common thread between them, and just what can you do to try to get the guys to do what they need to do?
Well, the common thread that it's hurt us. There's no question about that. They certainly they not only stalled drives, but they've created good field position for the opponent, which led to points on the other side as well. So that's where, in these games, the margins are really important, and the margins between winning and losing become smaller and smaller. And that's one where, we have not done a good enough job. I have not done a good enough job in getting us to reduce those, eliminate those. That's what you want, right? Reducing and eliminating pre-snap and post-snap penalties. Keep everything between the lines and snap to whistle. So the common thread is we just haven't done a good enough job.
How much do you expect opponents to copycat the rest of the way, copycat what Louisville tried to do to you guys on Friday night?
Well, I think we've seen a lot of it before in a couple previous years, and we've had better success. I think, our failure to execute falls on all of us, right? We win as a team, we lose as a team, but the details of execution, of hat position, hand placement, angles, leverage, details in protection routes, play calling, all the things that lead to success or not being successful, all that has to improve. The plan itself, we've seen all up, we've seen quarters, cover 3, man, we've seen it all, and we have had success, and we can and will have success, and to do so we have to prepare at the highest level and make sure we carry it over to game time.
When you look at Carson, just how has he been the couple days after the game, and just how do you expect or hope that he'll respond after the game on Friday?
Well, we've seen him handle it very professionally, certainly, and I make sure that every player and every staff member knows that we win together and we lose together. Finger pointing won't exist here. It's besides making these guys better football players, you have to make them better men, better people. And in life, that is a hard, cold lesson that you have to learn. When things don't go well and everything's coming down and people want to point at you, you man up, you get your butt off the ground, you go right back to work. That's the expectation. That's all we've seen, and that's all we will see going forward.
In the same vein, there were some pundits and stuff on social media saying he, might have thrown, his teammates under the bus. It's not how I interpreted what he was saying, but it's how people have responded to clips of what he said after the game on Friday. Just how has he, been around the players the last couple of days? Like, how has he kind of handled that? Has he bothered with any of that? Have you talked to him about any of that?
I'm not, I wouldn't be aware or in tune with, just trying to digest your statement in terms of people under the bus. Again, that doesn't exist here because it's not part of the culture and just not allowed. It just has no place. But I think the entire team has complete clarity that every coach, every player, everybody takes this, every win and takes every loss together. There is no exception, and again, there is no blame or finger pointing.
Did you talk to Carson about this, about his comments after the game that he's talking about?
Just like I mentioned there, that's something that's very new to me, and you bringing that up. But there is no hint or inkling of any blame being passed around to anybody in our room, our locker room, or our building.
I think Akeem Mesidor missed a few plays with a foot thing in the middle of the game on Friday. Just how's he done? Is everything okay with him? Like, what's going on with him there?
Yeah, he's done pretty well. Obviously, it was tough for him to finish the game. He was a little bit banged up, but he seems to be on track to be healing fine.
with Stanford, the first time you guys are playing them, just with the with the conference expansion, just getting new matches and whatnot, just the thoughts on that and just what stands out about Stanford.
Well, I think they've been through a lot as a program with the change and whatnot and coaching and all the things that are going on. And I think they've done a great job at really finding their way and schematically and from a personnel standpoint, putting guys in position to play really, really well. And I think it showed on Saturday against Florida State, with them holding one of the best offenses in the country to 13 points and playing a really physical brand of football, knocking a quarterback out the game. Really explosive in the run game, really good on third down, really good on third down defense and red zone defense as well. And schematically, you could tell that their experience as pros and having been in the pros is really starting to carry over and bleed into what they do schematically. They certainly pose, besides being a physical team that really plays hard, they do enough stuff schematically where you really have to prepare well.
With the defense, I know I think it's 7 turnovers on offense for you guys, but the defensive yards after that, I don't think you guys have given up a point off turnovers yet. Just can you speak to just the defense's ability to, when a mistake does happen, a turnover does happen, that they've been able to step up and make sure they at least minimize the damage against?
Yeah, it was very much a big part of today's team presentation. In the margins, meaning hitting yardage, right, having to punt the ball, not covering it well, and being subjected to a self-inflicted penalty and the yards that go with that and where the ball is placed when the opponent gets the ball, how that leads to points, right? Those are hidden yardage points. Those are the margins. Well, on the flip side, there's 3 turnovers offensively that lead to no points due to the defense's, ability to rise up and play really good football. That's impressive stuff. That's going to lead us to bigger and greater accomplishments on game day, and certainly stuff that we have to continue to build upon. And if you talk to the defensive guys, they'll talk about the details that have to be done, the swarm, the violence and the physicality, but certainly a lot of bright spots as well on defense.
Mario, do you feel in general that you guys need to make changes offensively and defensively because of the result of last game? Or do you look back of what went well in those first 5 games that that you can just kind of go off of that, and things did go well there, essentially weighing the overreaction or responding to the result that you just had?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's the same team, we lost on Saturday, but it's the same team that won 5 games against, arguably the toughest out-of-conference schedule, right, this year in college football. So where are the changes? It's more improvements and obviously presenting our players with schematical technique, fundamental advantages and answers to help us execute at a higher level, right? That comes with everybody having more mental intensity and energy, but collectively as a group, it's some of it is tweaking and some of it might be changing, but it's also improving and really doing things that we have done well, doing them well again, and not straying from that, not allowing us to get caught up in some of the things we mentioned earlier about the pre and post snap penalties, because those things do knock you off schedule and do kill drives, so I think it falls a little bit here and a little bit there.
The tackling by the defense, what's your assessment from Friday night?
We missed more tackles than usual. I think we're playing against some really good players. I think we can't lose sight of that. But I do think that our positioning and the details that go into our drops, sometimes we're off. And like we spoke about today, as a team, we've got to coach it better, we've got to teach it better, then we've got to execute it better. We weren't as precise in some of our positionings in our zones and whatnot, and we got to be better.
Hey Mario, I know Saban calls it rat poison, but it's got to be more complicated than that. I mean, just the uneven performances that teams, not just Miami, teams in general, can have week to week. USC, Notre Dame ran for 305 yards against USC this past weekend. You guys shut down Notre Dame, you tackled well. The other night, you're not tackling well. Everything that went wrong on offense, the O-line had been great earlier in the year, wasn't so great the other night. Carson had been pretty good earlier in the year, wasn't so great the other night. Like, is it more than just, psychological?
I think it's the reality of football. I think we all have to understand that college football is working its way more and more to being more like professional football, where more teams have really good players. And anyone that doesn't believe that is in for a surprise. Everybody has really good players. And now 5, 6, 7 weeks into the season, everybody has film. right? And everybody's talking to staffs that have played against you, and you're talking to staff that have played against your opponents, and they're talking to former staff members. You're getting every nugget of information you possibly can to create an advantage. That's the reality of it. So if there's a hole, there's something to be exposed, if there's something that you haven't quite corrected yet, you're going to see it. And if you ain't ready and if you ain't getting better at it, it's going to hurt you, you know? I think it's really important to point out that despite not being at our best and not playing to the standard, at the end of the day, we still have the ball in hand at the 31-yard line with 2 timeouts with a chance to tie or win the game. You know, so there's a positive in the fact that our players will play hard all the way to the end, that we can dig our way out of stuff. We obviously did too much in a negative way to dig ourselves all the way out, and we need to improve upon those things to get the result we want.
Mario, you touched on getting to the 31-yard line these last couple of days, a chance to review that or think more about the decision to throw. Was there anything that you guys would have done differently in hindsight now as opposed to, keeping the ball on the ground?
That's a full throttle win the game situation. You're at the 31-yard line, you have 2 timeouts. It's a very safe call that did not work out that way.
Piggybacking on that, is that decision to throw the ball, is that something in the pivotal moment in a game like that? Is that something Dawson runs by you, or does Dawson make the call?
It's part of the play call sheet. It's part of the play call sheet, and the call was made, and the call was not executed, and that falls on every coach and every player in the building.
In the same vein that you're guys were talking about, like, everyone has film on everyone at this point. That
Everyone, what, I'm sorry?
Talking about like how everyone has film on everyone at this point in the
Correct.
season. Everyone,
Yeah.
knows tendencies and everything. How much do you balance, sticking with what works and has been working versus changing things up a little bit? Like, for example, like in the on the defensive side of the ball, like y'all's pass rush has been getting home and doing very well all season. Louisville's able to neutralize that with their quick game, getting the ball out in like 2 seconds. So how much do you, I guess, change things around and try to adjust to teams that might do things like that versus just keep doing what had worked for 5 weeks?
Well, I think that's too general of a question to give a blanket answer to. When you say a team is going a quick game and the ball is coming out less than 2 seconds, right? How do you neutralize that? Well, it has to be in the form of coverage, right? In the form of a batted ball, right? If they're chipping on your defensive end with a tight end or keeping them home and using the back on the other side as well, well, then you got to get home in a couple different ways, and you've got to be able to hold up outside versus in cuts versus back shoulder fades, right? It's what you're willing to take away, you got to be willing to risk winning in one-on-one situations on the other side. So as the season goes on, and as you study film, I know you do, is you've got to really dig into the cat and mouse game that goes in with that, so that so it's more than just a general, got to do this or got to change. You always got to evolve as the season goes on. If you go in again and again with the exact same picture and that picture doesn't change, you're going to get your butt wired. They're going to wire you, right? So from the wrinkles to the compliments that go with it, we've done a really good job up until this last game, but to in any way, shape, or form think that the University of Miami hasn't done a good job this year, I think it doesn't fit. It doesn't. It's not. It doesn't make much sense to our process. We didn't play to the standard. We did not do our job. We didn't coach well enough. We didn't play well enough. We didn't execute well enough. And we've won 5 games. We lost 1 game, and we got to keep improving to make sure we get our best chance to go be 1-0 on this Saturday.
Just with that 1-0 mentality you've talked about for a long time now, that 1-0 mentality.
Right.
Is that even more of a point of emphasis now, and not to have the guys look too big picture on what needs to happen the rest of the year? Is that zeroed in?
I think I don't look at it that way. I would say it's never less of a point of emphasis. Does that make sense? You don't put degrees of value on a win and then lessen it versus other opponents. That would make, it would be illogical for our players to even try to fathom that concept. You don't put a degree, it's too disrespectful to football, it's too disrespectful to opponents. Every single opportunity has to be treated like the fight of your life. That's the only way to get the absolute best out of yourself. And that's our approach every single time. The bottom line is we didn't get the outcome that we wanted, okay? The processes must always improve and get better.
Going down
Couple more.
14 early in the game, do you feel like that took you obviously out of the run game element a little bit of the offense, or do you wish maybe you were a little more patient with the run game?
I don't think it ever takes I mean, 2 scores early in the game should never take you out of that, you know. I think when you put together a game plan and you see things throughout the course of the game, both on the iPad, communication upstairs in the box, everything is geared towards giving us the best chance to win. Every play call, there's not a single play call on a sheet by any coordinator that's a random guess. It doesn't exist. There's an answer to every coverage, every pressure that we're getting. What fits best versus Bear Mike at a will fire, corner fire, right? Quarters, 0, all up, bluff, all up, bring it, all that stuff, you know? And so everything is very, very selectively chosen and placed on that call sheet. And the calls that were made were the ones that we felt at the time were the best to give our team the best chance to win.
Anything else, Coach?
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
schools and high schools.
Bill Red, question for offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson.
Shannon, so what did the, I mean, we obviously know what happened at the game, but what did the film show you when you came in the next day and watched the thing?
That we gave a lot of possessions away. You know, I mean, it was an 11 possession game, which is about like across the nation with the clock rules. So possessions are about 2 or 3 possessions less than they probably were years ago. And out of those 11, we gave 5 away, and you can't do that. You can't give 5 possessions away to a good team, and we knew we were facing a really good team, good defense. I mean, they've lost 1 game, and the team that beat them had 230 yards total offense. And so we knew exactly what we were getting. And so, you know, we gave away 5 possessions in an 11 possession game. And that's hard to win. You're not going to win, basically. So we have to do a better job of not giving away possessions.
The run game, the last 2 weeks, I think you guys are averaging about 2.5. The run game, averaging, I think, 2.5 yards a rush after doing really good the first month. Just anything you can pinpoint on what's happened there and what you guys can do to correct it and get back on track?
I don't know about correcting it. I mean, our run game is what it is. You know, we need to execute it better. There's times when we have things there and we miss it. You know, and I don't deflect any blame from that. I have to stick with it. I have to package it together a little bit better probably, but ultimately we just need to keep doing what we're doing, and I have to stick with it. And so just execute. We got to execute better. Now, part of it too is they were stacking the box, playing a bare front, and so, but ultimately that doesn't matter. I mean, we need to be able to run the ball effectively, and there's times we did run it effectively, and then we'd get a personal foul penalty. Like you gain 7 yards, and then you go backwards 15. And so I think that, in a way, sometimes that clouds my mind of it's not working. Well, it did. We just got a personal foul penalty, you know. So I have to stick with it, and we just have to execute it better.
When the defense is stacking the box and kind of stymieing the run game, it seemed like on Friday Carson was trying to throw downfield a lot, and it worked on the second drive. But then obviously had the few picks when trying to go downfield. Is there anything like you said to him about in terms of like not trying to hit the home run on so many plays that it's okay to take plays in the flat and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we watch film and critique. Nobody shies away from what they need to do better, including myself. Carson's done a great job of checking it down. Probably the best I've had at checking it down. And so in that particular game, in those couple spots, we went a tempo play that we thought would trigger cover 2, and it did. And we had Malley running down the middle. And, obviously we have some underneath stuff that could have checked it down. I think 9 made a pretty damn good play on the ball, to be quite honest with you, but I know it is what it is. And so, and the other one was a one-on-one ball that needs to be us catch it or nobody does. That's the reality of that play. But ultimately, we do want to throw the ball down the field when we have it. And so there has to be a level of, they're backing up, we need to dump it down. Absolutely. And so were those things reinforced? Yes, they were.
And how has he kind of bounced back over the last few days after obviously, one of the tougher games of his career?
He's fine. I mean, it's not, he's played enough football to have games like that. And so he was fine immediately after the game. He felt like we all did. Like he felt like we gave one away, and it sucks, but at some point you got to shake it off and you got to move on. You can't go back in time. We can't replay those plays that we missed. We have to learn from them, and when they come up again, we have to do better. And so he's played enough football to understand that this isn't one person's load to carry. If everybody's got their little bit of self-reflection to do, including myself. I have the biggest one. And I take the brunt of the blame for all of it. And so ultimately, you look in the mirror, it's no different than I told the offense. When we went to bed Friday night as a loser for the first time this year, if you went to bed thinking, oh, so-and-so should have done this, then you're wrong. Everybody should have went to bed thinking, man, I wish I would have done blank to help us win this game. I did the same thing. I laid in bed and I was like, man, what could I have done yesterday, last week, 2 weeks to help us avoid this game, right? And so if everybody will look in the mirror instead of looking peripheral, and we have a bunch of guys in that room that did just that. They look straight in the mirror and they're like, man, you know what? I caused this on this drive. I caused this on this drive. Me, I got to do better calling the game. I got to do better at the end, putting us in a better situation to win the game. And so everybody's accountable, and we have a bunch of good people in the room that understand that it isn't one person's deal. It's a collective effort that got us beat, and we just got to do better. You know, we got to do better as an offense to move the ball and honestly run more plays. That's the biggest thing that bothers me is when you give away 5 possessions like that, you end up running 60-something plays rather than 80. You know, and that's you know, I want those 20 plays.
When you were laying in bed thinking about what you could have done better, do you mind sharing with us like some of the things you came up with?
The main things I came up with, I won't share, Daryl, to be honest with you, because it's going to lead into some stuff for the next couple weeks. But ultimately, there was some things. You know, there's specific things that I think in those certain situations that I could do better, call better, make clearer, you know, in those particular situations, and that's coaching. I have to coach better in those situations. And so I thought we had a really good plan going into the game. We got punched in the face, to be quite honest with you. Our 4th play of the game, we're down 14-0. And so I thought we showed a lot of resilience coming back and fighting and putting ourselves in a situation where we had a chance to win the game. And then ultimately, we didn't deserve to win the game. We did not, and that's why we didn't win the game. They played better than we did. And there isn't one person in our room offensively when I asked that question today that said we did deserve to win. We didn't play our best, and we didn't deserve to win, and we didn't win. And you get what you deserve in this life. And so we're going to get ready and have a great practice tomorrow, and everybody's shake it off, and we're ready to roll with a positive attitude, and we're going to make it right.
Shannon, what'd you make of the last interception on that play, just how it played out? We obviously all heard Carson's comments.
I mean, what I think about it is it's out of a timeout, and I got to do a better job with extreme clarity on what we need to do. And I point every finger at me on that play because we're coming out of a timeout, and I got to do a better job putting our team in position to be successful in that particular situation.
Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but in watching it back, it looks like they were taking away the middle of the field from you. There was a clear effort both in the run game and in the pass game to take away the middle of the field. Did you see it that way? And if you do see it that way, does that mean that maybe there's predictability that you're looking at? I mean, people look at analytics on our run game. They say we run up the middle 78% of the time. I don't know what the number is today, but you probably
Gary, you know what the number is.
No, I swear I don't, but you probably do. But do you look at predictability in situations like that?
I do, and this is the answer is this. When teams play us, they mix stuff up more than they do when they don't. Does that make sense? And so to say that they took the middle of the field away would be less than honest assessment by you, even though I think you do have your probably stats in your head. But they played a lot of split coverage that they hadn't been playing. When we tempoed, they went Tampa. You know, so I thought they did a really good job, to give them credit, of mixing up fronts and coverages. And so ultimately, in our pass game, it don't matter what coverage you're in. It really doesn't. Like that's why ours is a little bit different than a lot of other people's. Ours is progression based. So your eyes need to be burnt on your reads. You know, it's 1, 2, 3, check down. You know, so to me, like sitting here obsessing about what they took away, that doesn't really help me much. What helps me is there's an avenue of finding the open guy in our offense, and that avenue and that journey is burning your eyes on your reads, because your reads will take you to the open guy. Does that make sense? And so, I don't know if that answered your question or not.
And then I wanted to ask you just about the unevenness of performances, and it's probably a product of football. And I asked Coach about it too. I mean, you know, the O-line plays great for the first several games of the season, struggled the other night. Carson had been really good, as you said, on check downs and everything earlier in the season. The other night, he really wasn't. Like, what creates that unevenness in performance?
I think you got to give the other team credit at times. You know, I think Louisville played really good on defense, but I would go at you a little bit about groups not playing bad because we shared the badness in that game. Does that make sense? Like it kind of went in every position group at times. And to sit here and say, well, the O-line played bad, that's really not fair to them because there was a lot of plays that were blocked up perfectly. There was a lot of times we got a lot of time to throw the ball, right? Was there a handful of times when that wasn't the case? Yes. And there typically is in the course of a game. There were times where run game was blocked up perfectly and we just missed it. There was times when it wasn't. You know what I mean? So it's hard to say that one group played bad. I wouldn't say that, and I don't believe that. I do think in that particular game, for whatever reason, if I had this answer, I'd probably write a book and you'd never see me again, Gary. I'd be living in a cabin in the woods somewhere. I'd sell so many copies of it. But we kind of all collectively shared some time not doing our job, you know, which is a little bit uncommon with this group because, I mean, since the beginning of camp, we've been pretty consistent on a daily basis and on a game-to-game basis of doing our job at a high level. Why did we have a little bit of lapse in that game? I can't answer that other than to say that sometimes you just don't play your best and you got to learn from it and move on as coaches and players. And in the journey of that, really, a lot of times when adversity hits like that, you assess what you do really good. And it ends up being a very positive thing. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen here.
There's time for one more.
Throughout camp and leading into the season, you talked about how excited you were about the receiver depth that you have. It's been very Daniels heavy, Tony heavy. Obviously,
Yeah.
both of them have done really well. But you surprised that it's really been leaning towards two and not as spread out as much? And just your thoughts midway through the season.
I'm not surprised. It's a product of this. Jordan, I hope this answers your question because I know everybody has a similar deal. We need to run more plays. Does that make sense? We need to run more plays. And when you run more plays, which means we need to get more first downs and we need to not give possessions away. And when you don't give possessions away, and if you look at that game, we had 20-something plays the first half, right? That's not a lot. Now, we got a lot out of it. We're averaging like 10 yards a play because we hit some big ones. And then we ran 40-something plays the second half. Well, if you run 40 plays the first half and 40 plays the second half, you run about 80 plays. I'm not saying that I don't have a goal in mind of like I want to run X number of plays a game because the flow of the game kind of dictates that in a lot of ways. But I want to run more than we're running. And if we can get to running more plays, I think we're going to see a lot more people in there and their opportunities will come. But we got to run more plays because starters are starters for a reason. And when you're not running a lot of plays, then the flow of the game is not dictating to play a lot of people. Does that make sense?
Awesome. One to third coach.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Caleb, are there any questions for the defensive coordinator, Corey Hellerman?
Corey, we were just talking about it, but obviously, first 2 drives, they're able to get down the field, score 2 touchdowns. Rest of the game, they only get 10 points, and you guys seem to buckle down a little bit. What was, I guess, the biggest change you saw, the biggest adjustment between those first couple drives and the rest of the game, basically?
Yeah, I think those first 2 series, we talked about starting faster. It's kind of the opposite of what the season's been. We've started very fast, and fourth quarters were kind of the thing we talked about fixing and playing a full game and playing a 60-minute game. And, I thought the first 2 series we missed some tackles. I thought we had a couple misfits, and I thought our guys settled down after that. We kind of brought the group together on the sideline, and, it's fresh start right here. Let's get going. I thought our guys really started communicating well and playing faster after that point. But, we got to start faster in the game.
What was your assessment of the 2 explosive touchdowns by the receiver?
Yeah, one of them were in man-to-man. We get beaten and under. The linebackers got to get back to 4.5 yards. We got to win in the first 5 on the line of scrimmage, and then once the ball comes out, we got to go tackle it. And, we got to swarm better as a defense in that. And, they run the same play against almost the same exact call. I think 2 series later, it's like a 10-yard gain or an 11-yard gain on that play. So we got that cleaned up, and I think it was more of just the winning in the first 5, some of our technique and fundamentals, some of our levels that we were playing at the second level there. And, we got that one cleaned up after that. So.
And then the second explosive was the
touchdown at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different coverage. We're in a different situation. It was a 3rd down call, and that play in general, we didn't execute the disguise up front. We got to do a better job with our landmarks and where we are in our drops. We feel like that should have been a half-man tackle. Quarterback gets that ball off, it's probably going to be a first down. They hit the check down, or they hit the ball over the middle, and we just got to tackle it. We had a couple guys had some opportunities to get them on the ground, and the biggest thing on that play was just our swarm and our finish. We had a couple missed tackles. We didn't take some good angles, and we got to get them on the ground. We got to hold them to a field goal in that situation.
Getting them on the ground, a lot of missed tackles this game compared to what you guys had the first 5. Were you surprised by the amount of tackles you guys missed, and what are you guys going to work on this week to try to clean up?
Yeah, that's just where we were. And you look at the schedule and you see bye week, game on the road, bye week, and that last week we did tackling circuit. We still had FUD, we still have different tempos in practice, and it's just getting full speed reps. It's in college football and in football in general now, no matter what level you're at, you don't tackle in practice. And anytime we're squared up, we're going to step on toes, we're going to throw our hands, we're going to thud. And we're going to, we're going to push the pile. And anytime we're on the perimeter, we're going to violent tag, and we're going to work angles, and we're going to work our leverage. And those were things that showed up in this game that I thought going up to this point, I thought we had done a better job of taking some angles, working tackling and finishing some of those reps. And, that's something that we talked about watching the video as we put that game away. And, as we're going to go into this week, it's just, working tackling circuit again, working bite the ball, working half-man tackle, working press the hip, working wrap and roll, and working the different fundamentals and the technique to get that cleaned up.
Obviously, Louisville was able to kind of neutralize your pass rush. I think the stat was like 58% win rate on pass rush, but only 25% pressure rate, something like that. They were able to get the ball out quickly, kind of neutralize that. So I guess what do you have to adjust to when teams try to go into those quick passing schemes?
Yeah, we'll play, and I thought, we played some different coverages. We played some zone, we played some man. As the game went on, I thought we got out of some of the pressures. Doing some different drop things in our coverages, and the ball. We kind of thought that was going to happen in the game, and as they got the lead, it was kind of run the football, stay on track, and then take quick game, take access throws, and try to chip away to get third and mediums. And I thought we did a really good job after those first 2 drives of getting to third and off tracks. I think they converted 1 third and more than 4 all game. I think it was 1 3rd and 10 on that last touchdown drive. Outside of that, I think they converted a 3rd and 1, a 3rd and 2, I think 1 or 2 3rd and 3s. And as long as we stay ahead of the sticks, it's got to be catch. We got to tackle. We got to work our half-man tackles. We got to take a shot. It's when we miss a tackle and we don't work on good angles there. That's where that style started to hurt us a little bit. We got to make sure we're playing top down. Late in the game, we come out and we jump a first level layer throw and they hit the 7 cut over top of us, I think in a 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 11 to get back on track. And, after that, I think our guys settled down. We forced some check downs. We rallied. We made some really good plays. And I thought the guys swarmed and tackled better as the game went on. And, I give credit to those guys. I mean, Bell's a good wide receiver. He made a couple of good plays, and you take the 2 explosives away. I thought we did a good job on him. We just got to limit those plays, and that can't happen in that game. Same thing, I thought the back, a couple times we gave him a couple good running lanes, and he put his foot in the ground and he got downhill. And we got to do a better job of being detailed in our leverage, using our hands, knocking the line of scrimmage back. And late in the game, I thought, I put one bad call on there in the 3rd and 10. They checked to the run, and it was a really good job by them. So.
Corey, can you just explain maybe your philosophy? You touch on the receiver, when they have a top receiver, the way you guys are going to line up against someone like that. Do you, as opposed to following guys around, say you got him, or is it just how they line up? Can you just explain what you believe and why you believe?
Yeah, so we, going into the game, we did some different things, in the back end, where we had our eyes, who we were putting on certain people, and, how we, in different situations, we had some personnel groupings that we wanted to work on off track and 3rd down, and try to take really both 5 and 0 out of the game. Early on, he ran away from us the one time in the under and got away from us there. And, as the game went on, we kind of had different ways of trying to take him out, or different things to try to play some different zones to stay top down through it. And, we just got to, early in the game, I think we just got to start faster to take them away. And then the last one, we got to tackle better on that one. But, it'll always be, how do we take away their best players? And, I think we just had a slow start on that one, and we got to come out faster. And after that, I thought our guys really responded to it and did a good job for the rest of the game. But, sometimes we'll have a plan to, put a corner on them, or to bracket it, or have a safety on them and play some different levels. And each week we'll have a different game plan for how we attack people.
Corey, I think it's 7 turnovers by the offense. You guys haven't allowed a point against when on possession after. Just you speak to the defense's ability when those situations happen. The offense, you guys are able to lock in and be able to minimize the damage on the other end.
Yeah, we try to treat every single possession the same. It doesn't matter where the field position is, whether it was a kickoff or it was a punt or it was a takeaway. We try to, sudden change or first play of the first play of the game or first play of the second half. We try to treat everything the same. And in practice, we take the field the same exact way every single day. In games, you probably see it. We pull the guys up every single time. And so that way it's always the same. And you can put the ball down, and we tell our guys, we're in a parking lot. Put the ball down anywhere, and it's our job to go respond. And we need to make sure we limit first downs, and we got to get the ball back for the offense. So whatever the situation is, we treat it the same all the time, so that there's no sudden change, there's no different situations part of the game. We just settle the guys down. We talk about, hey, this is what we need to do. This is what we're expecting in this situation by field zone or by personnel grouping, or whatever the offense is doing in a certain game or a certain situation. So that way our guys settle down, we go out, we take the field, and we're playing with confidence every single time like nothing happened.
This was the first game where the opponent had success in the run game in particular. What do you think led to that from your side of things?
Yeah, I think, early on we had a misfit. There were 5 runs over 10 yards. And, the very first play of the game, we just have a misfit. We're in a look that we've seen a lot of, and we're there, and we kind of get Velcro on a tight end, and we get the two players to fit it, and we get to tackle it, and then we miss a tackle. I thought that the 28-yarder, we had a guy peek out of a gap. We got to fit up, and, it's something that we talked about during the week. It happened in practice on Monday and Tuesday, I think, and a lot of times what happens in practice happens in a game, and we just got to get that cleaned up. We talked about it with the guys. Late in the game, I thought one of them was on me. I put a call on that kind of guessed wrong on it. And, it hurt us in that situation, and our guys responded, and they made the play after that. And the defense did a really good job of getting us back on track after that play. And it was something they really hadn't shown. I think he's shown it in the Notre Dame game last year. It's really the only other time that they kind of showed that type of thing. And the second, they got to it, I kind of was like, I saw what was happening. But I thought our guys after those first couple responded well, and then, but it was the 5 runs of 10 or more that hurt us in the stat sheet. And You know, we talk about the explosive game and then the big play game. We gave up the 3 explosives, you know, which resulted really in the 24 points. And then you give up, you know, 5 runs over 10 yards, that's going to hurt you in the stat sheet. And, you know, we had talked to the guys all week, was we got to stop the run. I think they had 107 total rushing yards in the ACC play. You know, and that was the goal, was to stop the run, make them one-dimensional so we could do different things to some of the receivers. And we got to start faster, stopping the run early in the game.
Awesome, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.